Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you a plugin that I made called ArcadeCombat. This plugin was requested by Hellrin right here,
Hi.
and it makes Minecraft combat a lot better than normal combat. It's not just, I'm going to swing and I'm going to hit you and I'm going to win if I have better armor and better weapons. It's more like, I'm going to win if I have the skill and the brain power when you just are a noob and you're swinging your sword like a dumb bum. So, Hellrin, let's go ahead and have a little fight, and then we'll show everyone all the special features, and then finally the config.
Alrighty.
So he's using an axe, which this plugin enhances the axe to become a weapon. Are you ready?
Yep.
Are we going to play as noobs or as skilled people?
Well, I assume we're fighting, right? I'm gonna do my best.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus!
You're going to fall off the edge. Oh, shoot. Oh, that's bad. No! Okay. So now it's time to go over everything. Now that we had a basic fight, and he's pretty much slaughtered me. How much health did you have?
I finished with 2.5.
Oh, I didn't do that bad. So, first we're going to go over dodge. If you notice, if you jump backwards, you dodge and you get out of the way. Now the bad thing about this is, if you're on the side of a mountain like this is, and you dodge and jump off the edge and you die. So that's why we have these dodge commands here. You can toggle it, which disables it, so now I can't dodge. Or, you can combat toggle it, or toggle. I always forget how to say it. Combat. There it is. I'm spelling it wrong. Oh. Okay. Combat toggle makes it so now my dodge will automatically enable whenever I attack something or something attacks me. So, Hellrin, attack me. Notice how I don't have dodge enabled. Oh, I do have it enabled. Notice how I don't have dodge enabled. Now hit me.
Great demonstration.
Notice how I don't have command enabled. Okay, so now I have combat enabled, is what I meant. And I have dodge disabled. So now, right now, if I jump backwards, I do not dodge. But if Hellrin hits me, my dodge automatically enables. Which is very useful for when you're in a fight or about to get into a fight. Now, the reason why you're able to disable it and enable it is if you're on a mountain, if you're in your house and you're trying to build, it's no fun. So, other than that, we have the blocking. So, Hellrin, come here. If I block, go ahead and hit me. Notice how it takes away a certain percentage and it goes down by 5% as it goes. That's configurable, but it starts at default 80%. So, another thing about blocking, if you hit me again, I didn't have 80%, so it didn't work. Hit me from behind. So if he hits me from behind while I'm blocking, I take full damage. Nothing blocks it. Now, if your block is at a full 80% instead of 75 or anything else, go ahead, hit me. I get strength 1 for 2.5 seconds. And he gets weakness 1 for 2.5 seconds. So if he blocks me, notice how I get weakness 1 for 2.5 seconds. Quite basic, and makes it so that it gives blocking an advantage in a fight. So other than blocking, we also have bleeding. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off my chest plate. Go ahead, hit me. Hit me as hard as you can. So if you see here, now I'm bleeding, and I have this nice little effect, and I'm gonna die in a few seconds. So if I don't want to die, I can just grab a piece of paper, and I can right-click the piece of paper, and it stops my bleeding. Really useful to carry a piece of paper around. It's just like a bandage. Other than bleeding, we also have heavy attack. So come here. If I go ahead and run and jump and hit, it heavy attacks. So run, jump, and attack. Get this really cool diamond particle effect here. I lose 4 hunger, and he gets to take extra damage, and it breaks through his block. So nice little heavy attack there. Speaking of draining 4 hunger, if you just swing your sword around all over the place, once your saturation goes down, your food bar is going to start going down a lot faster. Here, hand me your axe so I can make it go down faster. If you swing an axe, it goes down a lot faster, or it should. Works 90% of the time. Works 100% of the time. There we go. So now that I got the the saturation gone, you can notice how it goes down quite fast now. Sorry. This this is here. That way noobs can't just swing all around the place and just end up killing you because they can swing faster. Now they're going to run out of food, not be able to chase up with you and catch up and do all that stuff. So that's just another feature. You can also change the amount of food it takes away. Other than that, you have Sword Collide. So let's say Helen and I are attacking each other, and we're like noobs, and don't hit me yet.
Whoops.
And we're like noobs, and we just want to swing at each other without blocking, without kind of dodging anything. We're just gonna swing. So let's go ahead and swing. Okay, stop. If you notice, we didn't die as fast as you normally would. We kind of did because I got hit a lot there in the beginning. But none of us were blocking. Instead, our swords just hit in midair and collided together, and he just killed me.
Whoops.
But what this is used for, sword colliding, is so noobs can't just spam at each other. If they just spam at each other, they're gonna lose. If the swords collide, they only lose half a heart each. But if they don't collide, they take full damage. So it's really useful for a non-noob to be able to deflect noobs or to just embarrass them. Which it's quite funny to embarrass a noob when they have their fully enchanted diamond armor. They come at you, you're wearing your iron armor, and you just do a few cool moves, and they end up dying, and then they cry, and then yeah, you get my point. The final thing is you get to cut yourself. This is so you can't block and attack at the same time. If you try to block and attack at the same time, you'll cut yourself, and it'll just take a percentage of your health away. So it's bad to cut yourself.
Here's a noob demonstration.
I'm not a good fighter though. I'm not the best with this plugin. Hold on, stop. With axe, if you're not hitting a block and you're pressing shift for an axe is blocking, by the way. If you're pressing shift and you're hitting a block, it's not considering it blocking and hitting. But if you're hitting a player or if you're hitting midair, you get to cut yourself. So be careful with that and try not to die by cutting yourself, because that's a major thing for noobs, like noobs who like to click both buttons at the same time in a fight, because they'll die in just a few seconds. And that's a fact. So, I guess the final thing is showing noobs in action. Since Hellrun's better at this, I'm going to hand him all my stuff.
Oh, alrighty then.
By the way, I want you to use paper.
Alright.
Because that's a non-noobish thing. Can I have some steak? Okay. So, we're going to go ahead and fight. He's just going to... Actually, since you're a noob, I think I'd be better off with a diamond axe. No, I'm the noob. My bad. Okay, I'm the noob, he's not. Let's fight.
Oh!
Well,
you'll bleed to death.
Yeah, I know. Since I'm a noob, have no paper, and I just came at him spamming attack. Since he failed at a few parts in that fight, I didn't die outright. But I ended up dying in the end because I bled to death. It's kind of hard to live when you don't have paper and you're bleeding. So that shows all the fighting. It's a lot more fun when you have a big group of 30 people all going at it. So do you want to do one last fight?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Okay, now that we're all suited up and ready to go, we have our iron sword in order to not bleed to death easily, since I didn't feel like changing the config and we're going to keep them on defaults. So we're going to use an iron sword, we're going to use diamond armor, and we're going to try to fight our best. And we already know who's going to win here. Not me, because I'm not the best at this combat. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Go. That's a lot of colliding going on there.
Oh no.
I gotta repost on you. You're dead. You're done. How much health did you have before you hit the ground?
Oh, I was at like over half, 6.
You had 6 health. I had like 7. So I probably would have won the fight in the first place. So that proves it, people. If you hit someone off of a mountain, you win. If you run into a creeper while you're falling off the mountain, you double win. If you fall off the mountain because you use dodge, you're an idiot because you have the ability to disable it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the config, and if you don't want to see the config and this is all you want to see, you can go ahead and leave the video now. But if you want to see how to set up the config and all that cool stuff, go ahead and continue watching. Okay, now we're going to go over the very simple, over-explained config. In fact, it's so over-explained I probably do not even need to make this video. If you notice, there's a lot of little tag things here telling you what every single thing in here does. Which, if I removed every single one of those, it would only be like, what, 10, 15 lines instead of 121. So, other than that, let's go ahead and go over this. So, up here, it just gives you a little information, stuff, all that thing. When you're changing anything in here, don't use tabs. Pretty basic. So right here, the sound delay. If you didn't notice, whenever you blocked, it played this, like, this modified anvil sound. Now, you can make, in order to make it so the sound doesn't go over and over again, it sounds really weird, you can change the amount of delay. This is 5 ticks. We find that 5 ticks works the best. If you think something else will work better, you can go ahead and change this. This is how fast the sound can play in a row. I recommend keeping it at default. If you feel comfortable changing it or just testing things, go ahead and change it. Cut check. Cut check right here. If you noticed when you cut yourself, like you've seen earlier, this is how fast you have to attack and block between each other in order to cut yourself. This is how many milliseconds between each to cut yourself. That should make enough sense. Moving on. Reset block on attack. So this here has been added because when I was making the plugin, I accidentally added it in, and we decided to keep it. What this does is it makes it so that your block percentage resets on attack. You can change up the way the fighting is, and instead of having it wait 5 seconds to go up 5% every to get your block it back up, instead you could just attack and get it up if you set this to true. Sword multiplier. If you probably noticed, the weapons that we were playing with were more powerful than they normally are in Minecraft. We actually planned on them being sword times 2 and axe times 3, but found that was way overpowered. So we ended up doing 1.25 and 1.85. If you want to, you can go ahead and change these, make them more powerful, or if you want to, you could actually reduce it by putting a 0 in front of it and just making a decimal point. It's up to you what you want to do with the multiplication, and if you wanted to keep it default Minecraft, just set it to 1.0. And moving on, we have Soared Exhaustion. These, I understand somewhat. You can change these at your own risk, because when I was changing them, I messed up something. I removed a decimal or something, and it made your food go down on one hit, and you died of hunger in like 10 seconds. But what these are, if you want to look it up on the Minecraft wiki, all this does is it takes away a certain amount of exhaustion per hit. This is how much exhaustion it is added. Apparently exhaustion is added, not taken away. So the higher this number goes, the faster your hunger is going to go down. So if you add more to this, the more you swing, the faster you swing, or more times you swing, your hunger is going to go down faster. And this is how much the axe makes it goes down. This is how much the sword does the saturation. Saturation is removed. How much is removed? So I think that bigger is worse and smaller is better. I sometimes get them mixed up. You could just mess around with the numbers. I would leave the saturation the same and just change the exhaustion. Like if you wanted them to lose hunger faster, make this larger. If you want to make them lose it slower, make the exhaustion lower. And that's about it for these 4 right here. So now for the top block percent. If you noticed, every time you block, the highest it would go is 80%. That's because of this right here. So default is 80. So on my server, I actually set the default to 90. You can do that here too. You can also make it so you only want the block to block 10% at first. So 80%. The block change. This is how much every time you get hit while you're blocking, how much it goes down. So it would go 80 to 75 to 70 to 65. Pretty simple. You can also change this number. It probably would work out better if you had it by 5s, but you can change it, or 5s, 10s, or 20s. But you can also change it to like 2s and 7s and things like that. It's just OCD people might get a little ticked off at you. So, next up is the dodge recharge time. This is how many milliseconds you must wait to dodge again. So you can't just dodge, 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 and fly across the server. Instead, you have to wait a few seconds, which this here, since it's in milliseconds, it's 15 seconds here. Next is the bleed amount. This is how much health. Oh wait, no, hold on. 3 times. Oh, then bleed amount is how many times a player will bleed. Okay, bleed amount. This is how many times you will bleed once you start bleeding. So if you start bleeding, you can make it so you bleed 5 times, like you get hurt 5 times from bleeding. Or if you wanted to make it so they have to have paper, so it's 9999. Or if you just want to have it set to 1, so you only bleed once. It's up to you. The bleed speed is how fast in ticks between each bleed amount. So right here, this makes it so every 3 seconds you bleed 1 time, and it does it 5 times. So every 3 seconds you bleed, and you do it for 5 times. That's how this is set up here. You can make it so you bleed faster, which if you wanted to slaughter someone in just a few seconds, set it to 1. That's 1/20th of a second. If you want to make it a lot slower, set it to like 100. If you want to make it something that you would have to, that would be super long term, set this to like 10, so you bleed 10 times, and set this to 400, and that's every 20 seconds you'll bleed. So I see that as annoying. It's all up to what you want to have on your server. Next up is the heavy attack delay. This is, once again, like the dodge recharge time, you have a heavy attack delay. This is how long you have to wait before you can heavy attack again. This is set to 60 seconds. You can also change this to whatever you want it to be, and it's in milliseconds. Okay, the block regen amount. This is how much, up here, if you notice the block and all that, it goes down by 5%. This is how much it goes up every, however you set it down here. This is how fast it goes up. So right here, since this is in ticks, this is every 5 seconds, since 100 divided by 20 is equal to 5. So every 5 seconds, your block regen amount goes up by 5%. You could change this to something different if you wanted to. You can make it go up by 1% every second, which would be this. It would be 1 in 20. But I'm keeping it at the default 5 and 100. Next up is the heavy attack food drain. If you noticed, when you heavy attack, you lose 4 hunger bars, which that's pretty bad. I personally like to set this to 6. And just remember, each hunger bar counts as 2. So a person has a total of 20 hunger. So if you set it to 8, they're losing almost half of their hunger. But I like to set mine to 6. So right here they're losing 3 hunger bars. So the default is 8. You can also set this to 0. And I have no idea what would happen if you set it to -10. Maybe it'll make their health go up. I don't remember what I did with that. So you could try setting it as a negative. Okay, bleed start damage is how much damage you have to take before you begin bleeding. It's not that you're going to randomly bleed. It's like if you take this much damage or more, you'll begin bleeding. If you don't take that much damage, you're not going to bleed. I recommend putting this to 7, which remember health is you have 20 of 20 health. So you're going to have to take quite an amount of damage for this. You can even 7.5 might even be good. So the default for this is 5. The bleed damage amount is how much damage you bleed remember how we were talking about the bleed speed and the bleed amount? This is how much damage you take every time you bleed. So right now you just take a heart and a half, which is 3 health. If you want to, you could just make it where you're just going to die if you take away 10 health, which is half your health every time you bleed. You can also make this lower. I like it at 1. Actually, yeah, I like it at 1.5, which takes away half of a heart plus half of a heart. Kind of hard to explain there, unless you understand plugins and Minecraft. So right here, you have auto toggle dodge, and just so you don't leave, there's only two things left. This is the auto toggle dodge thing. If you notice, there's the /2. No, my tongue's being bad. It's /dodge toggle and /dodge combat. /dodge toggle, it toggles your dodge, makes it so you can dodge or not dodge. Dodge combat makes it so that your dodge will automatically enable when you get attacked, or you can make it where it does not enable when you get attacked. This here, if you set it to false, it's going to make it so no one's dodge can enable when they get attacked. It also takes away /dodge combat. I recommend keeping that as true, but if people end up complaining about dodge, you can set that to false. Then we'll go over block velocity next, after this one. Swing collide. This is how many milliseconds between each hit before your swords collide. I found that 100 is probably the best, but if you want to, you can change it around. This is how much between each hit until your swords are considered colliding, and you're only taking half a heart of damage, and then it shows all those sparks. If you wanted to, you could just set that to 0, and then you can never collide. So now for block velocity. Let me just point this out right here. If you want to disable this, you can set this to -1. So what this does is it makes it so, in order to repost, which if we talked about earlier, if you block, you get this nice strength, a potion effect, and you can attack again. If you wanted to have it easier for them to attack again after they get the strength, this here makes it so they don't knock back as far. This is actually setting their velocity of how far they will fly back, which we found 0.13 is the best. If you set it to 1, they'll fly back extremely far. 2, they'll even further. If you wanted to be insane, you could do -15 or -10, and you'll see this really weird thing where if you hit the person, they're going to fly the opposite way, and it's really weird. It's also really funny. So that's about it for this config here. It's a really nice plugin. I really enjoy it. I use it on both my servers, meaning I use it on my test server. But my point is that it's good, it's fun, and it's easy for noobs to use. And not to mention, if you're a noob, I suggest you learn how to use this, or else if you come on a server that has it, you will be slaughtered. That's all for this video. Goodbye.